fresh, get the mind ticking over for the day, feel like you've accomplished something. That's it, people. Set your personal goals first thing in the morning. So I wanted to do this video because we've been on this Indus journey, and we're learning about the gods, we're learning about the culture, religion. We've learned about the mega cities, how it's growing. We're learning a lot, basically. But I remember, I want to say 10 to 15 years ago, I read a book about the BRIC cities. I can't remember what the book was called. But it was a very interesting book. It talked about economy, world economy, and what was going on. And I remember India, as well as, is it Brazil, Russia, India, China, what was the S? Saudi. How they were going to come up as the next superpower as opposed to the is it the G9 countries that are like kind of running it at the moment? G7. There you go, that's it. So the G7 countries. Now this was a long time ago. So I can remember at the time as well, I was probably quite anti-Western civilization. Not anti, but just not agreeing with a lot of things that were going on. So I was kind of seeing how this would play out. And I'm still waiting for it to actually happen. But, as my father says, that it is happening as we speak. Yeah? I mean, the dominance in the markets of China and India are obviously growing. The workforce, work habits and work patterns are changing to suit, obviously, the Eastern cultures or Eastern civilizations, societies.
Not about the dominance and the thing. The point is, if you have one country that prints money and doesn't pay for money, and everybody else pays for that printed money, then the dollar isn't backed by gold anymore since the Saudis pulled out. So it's basically America says, we got this much.
Yeah.
So the BRICS nations want to back their money with gold. Something tangible. They've got all the assets and everything, so they're coming together and saying, let's have something that really works, in contrast to this one person that used to have gold backing. Now they ain't, and we're supposed to just kowtow. Like, it's not fair. They're just printing money, whereas we're having to buy the money off them. So BRICS is about cutting away from that economical system, which will allow the other countries to thrive, because everybody's modern, can get a crane, make cement and build their cities up. You understand? Everybody can do that. Everybody's got scientists and technological people and know the lies about the moons and you understand? So now it's just a case of getting the knee off the neck. America has the knee financially on everybody's neck with their hype system. And people just aren't really going to play that anymore. They don't believe they need to until America drops some bombs on them anyway.
The old-fashioned American way. Right, so anyway, we're going to watch a video called How India Will Take Over.
Alright, so this is exciting. Let's talk about India.
Let's get cracking.
Home to the second most populous country with 18% of the world's population. Over 1.3 billion people live here. Famous for things like Bollywood and its massive movie industry, the sport of cricket, which is known as the second religion, and it's the birthplace of yoga over 5,000 years ago. India is also home to one of the 7 wonders of the world, the Taj Mahal, and it has some of the most beautiful mountains, palaces, a rich culture of food, spices, silks, and they even gave us the world's most famous diamonds that have ever existed in human history, like the Blue Hope, which the Titanic diamond was based on. And it also happens to be home to the largest gathering of people on planet Earth, the Kumbh Mela. In 2013, over 120 million people came here to celebrate, and Mark Twain once famously said, "India is the cradle of the human race, the birthplace of human speech, the mother of history, the grandmother of legend, and the great-grandmother of tradition." India also gave us the game of chess, which was derived from an ancient game called Chaturanga. But there's a couple other interesting things about India you might not have known about, which is that its economy is set for explosive growth this coming decade. At the end of 2022, Morgan Stanley published a research paper on future investment opportunities, and in that paper, they wrote that India is on track to become the world's third largest economy by 2027, surpassing both Japan and Germany, and they'll have the third largest stock market by the year 2030. The research paper then goes on to say that India's GDP could
what's happening to Germany at the moment? Is Germany being supported to grow by America? Is America extorting and murdering them for oil, cut off their gas supply and everything? How is the German economy going to grow?
Ukraine? Isn't that Ukraine?
No, it's the Germans that are buying gas. That Nordic pipeline that got blown up, that's from Russia to Germany.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's not the Americans who are blowing up. It's the Russians who switched it off, ain't it?
Oh, we're wrong with you. It's the Americans, the Russians who own the line. Why would they blow up the line that they just built?
Well, I don't know if they blew it up, but didn't they switch it off? Wasn't this like part of the whole Ukraine thing? They said to Germany.
Absolutely not. The Americans blew the line up.
Did they blow it up? Because there's 2 lines, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's 2, ain't it?
Yeah.
So one was new and one was quite old. Now, didn't Ukraine or Russia, I could be wrong, I don't know. I don't really look into
Ukraine.
But didn't Russia say, when the Ukraine thing was going on, invade, but I mean, okay, when it started, if world powers get involved, we're just going to switch this pipeline off. So Germany don't have no gas. So that's why, hence, Germany really haven't kicked up a fuss about what's going on in Russia and Ukraine.
Germany hasn't kicked up a fuss.
Well, no one has really, have they? They haven't, have they? They haven't really, have they? You're laughing,
a fuss with who?
With Russia? Like, no one's, what have they done?
Germany's not doing nothing to Russia.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
I mean, Russia's not doing nothing to Germany. Russia sells gas to Germany.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is, Germany...
Russia sells gas to Germany.
Yes.
They have a long history. It's been going. Russia builds a new infrastructure called the pipeline, which is piping it direct, so it don't go through Ukraine.
Yeah, no, I get that. But what I'm saying to you is, if what Russia said was, if the world powers, because although Russia supplied Germany, Germany is still part of NATO and all that.
Germany's part of NATO, yeah.
So they were saying that basically, if you get involved, we're just going to cut your gas off, innit? So that hence why no one's really done anything about what's going on in Ukraine. It could have probably got stopped long time, but they've just left them to it, innit?
What's going on in Ukraine? Anyway,
I'd say it's a slight genocide, innit?
I think you need to get up to date on it, bro.
What do you mean?
Let's do this film.
Alright, so anyway, but yeah, come on, let's go. But either way, your thing saying about Germany's not being supported or growing, that's really got nothing to do with India, has it? India's obviously going to take advantage.
Well, it said in this report, in the report that was made by them, and it said India was set to take over Japan and German economies, which are the 2 of the biggest at the moment. Yeah. And I says, well, at the moment, the German economy for the last year is being smashed by America, charging them 4 times the price of gas because they've cut them off from Russia. No, Russia cut them off. America is selling them, right. America cut them off and started selling it, extorting them. It's commonplace.
Okay, yeah.
So India's economy is growing. They're not being cut off, even though they're being threatened with sanctions to support the American premise. They're just saying, no, we're not into that. We're just asking for peace and brokering. So India doesn't really get involved in it. There's no Indian soldiers in Ukraine or nothing like that, you understand?
No. But does India's war with China have an impact on their economy?
It doesn't have a war with China. It has some territorial issues with China on one border. Okay. There isn't a war.
Yet.
Well, I don't think they're going to war. Because they'll just keep that going forever. But they won't war over it. It's just a line in the dirt, ain't it, really?
Okay. All right, let's go.
GDP could more than double from $3.5 trillion that it's at today to over $7.5 trillion by the year 2031. And it also estimates that the Bombay Stock Exchange, which is India's stock market, could grow at 11% per year on average until they reach a $10 trillion market cap. Now, what the heck does all that mean? It means that India's stock market could outperform the US's over the next decade. And In a world that's waiting for a recession, the world that's experiencing negative growth in the equity market, where bonds are barely making any money for people, this could be a huge investment opportunity. And as somebody who has never invested outside of the US, as someone who's not an expert on this, I wanted to find out exactly what is going on. So in today's video, I want to share with you everything I learned and how I could potentially use this information to maybe make money from it. I'm super excited, so let's get right into it. Hi, my name is Andre Jick. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for the crazy decade. So visualcapitalist.com has a really interesting prediction about what will happen in 2023. Like artificial intelligence, for example, will pop up everywhere. And we're seeing this already with tools like ChatGPT, which is taking over the internet by storm. Apparently the crypto winter will continue, and even though we're seeing Bitcoin slightly bounce up this year, it might not last. And that apparently global recession risk is still high thanks to interest rates increasing and staying that way for the rest of the year. And that real global GDP will be between 1.5 to 2% thanks to the slowdown in economic growth, and India will have a really strong year. And when I read that one, it led me down a rabbit hole where I found research papers published by banks like Morgan Stanley and S&P Global, which say that India will be one of only 3 economies in the world that can generate more than $400 billion in annual economic output growth from 2023 onward, and this will rise to more than $500 billion after 2028. Now that translates to 11% growth to the GDP. So is that actually good or bad, and how can you even tell? Here are some stats by comparison. In 2022, the US GDP was estimated to grow 2%. And this year, in 2023, if there's a recession, which most people seem to believe there will be, economists are predicting that 2023, the US GDP will grow 0.2%. Just 0.2. And it won't even recover until 2024, when we will grow 1.7%. Now, China, by comparison, which is usually the global leader in economic growth, grew only 3% in 2022. India, by comparison, though, is gonna grow 6%. And remember, anytime there's an economic slowdown, it usually means people are gonna work less, we're gonna make less, we're gonna consume less, therefore companies are going to make less, which is usually a bad thing for the stock market. So for India to grow at 11% over this next decade is pretty insane. So one of the questions I had is, why is India's economy growing so fast, and why is the rest of the world not, and how could I get in on this growth? Now, there's 3 main reasons for why this is happening: global offshoring, financial transformation, and energy transition. Global offshoring refers to when a country outsources its production to another country. Now, historically speaking, the world just said to India, here, have 2 of the most important things anyone can do: software development and customer service. But here's the thing. India has the biggest pool of talented engineers in the world, and India has one of the youngest populations in the world. The median age is 28.4 years old, which also really helps them boost their overall economic output. Now, India was also voted as the 2nd biggest market for freelance hire by Upwork in 2020, having 12.6% of the market share. Now, the amount of people that are available for hire is estimated to double to more than 11 million people, and that's because the budget for outsourcing is going to go from $180 billion a year like it is today to over $500 billion a year by 2030. But it's not just customer service and software development. They're also building factories, which is why India's manufacturing is set to increase to 21% of their GDP by the year 2031. Now, the second reason why India is set to crush this next decade is gonna blow your mind. It's because of their digital transformation. In 2009, India came up with a program called Aadhaar. This was a biometric authentication system. So by scanning a fingerprint, a retinal scan, or a facial ID scan, it made it easier for people to access programs like Social Security, to pay taxes, for banking, healthcare, and shopping. And because this program is now part of something called India Stack, which is a decentralized utility for payments, it made it a lot easier for people and businesses to apply for credit and loans a lot cheaper and a lot more efficiently than ever before. Now, this was an extremely controversial program when it came out, but a 2018 report found that customers actually got better prices and they waited less in line for their food. If a store owner, for example, tried to scam their customers by weighing their rice rice bags down with hidden pebbles and stones, people actually have the ability to downvote those stores because the government has the ability to shut down underperforming stores. This incentivizes India to build better businesses. Now, this system, as good as it sounds, may or may not work in the US for privacy and data collection reasons, but the point is India has a lot more people and they need to be digitized and brought in and onboarded much faster, which is why the US is much more privileged in this regard. But the point is India's coming up with some super innovative solutions that is helping supercharge their economic growth. And speaking of financial growth, the amount of households making $35,000 a year will go up from 5.6 million households to over 25 million households by the year 2031. And more income means more spending, which means in theory, India's stock market should go up. Now, the third biggest reason why India is set to crush this next decade is because of the energy transformation. It's estimated that at least 2/3 of India's energy consumption will come from renewable energy sources. As the world transitions from fossil fuels to renewables, India should see massive amounts of investment opportunities and innovations in this field, which will help them become much more efficient, productive, and of course, increase their income and overall economic output. At this point in time, it's pretty much unanimous and all economists agree that India is set to crush and do really, really well this next coming decade. My question though is, knowing all of this information, is it possible for us to invest our money in a way that invests into this bright future so we can make a slightly higher return? I did not know the answer to this question when I first started making this video, but here's what I learned. So here's the best way to invest into India's crazy growth over the next decade. The secret is to buy India's, and that's how you make money really fast. That's how you become rich. Did my audio cut out? In all seriousness, some stocks in India are going to 10x. Some of them will 100x. But finding that one stock is almost impossible. So rather than trying to look for a needle in a haystack, it might be better to consider what are called ETFs, exchange-traded funds, which are bundles of stocks that look for a certain set of criteria. For example, the emerging market. And here are just some of the more popular ETF options people like to invest in to get exposure to India's stock market. But trying to find that one stock that's gonna 100x your money and make you rich is not a skill that I have. I'm not an expert, and because I have nothing to sell you, I'm just gonna say I don't know which one it's going to be. But before you walk away and before you get disappointed, check this out. This is about to blow your mind. According to Barron's, if you had invested $1 million into the US stock market in December of 1992, today you would have roughly $9.2 million. It's a ton of money. But if you had taken that same $1 million and put it into China's stock market, that money today would be worth $600,000, not $1 million, $1,000. And if you had taken that same $1 million and put it into India's stock market, today you would have $8.2 million. So still a lot of money, but not as good as the US. The US stock market could still do better over the next 10 years, despite the fact that India might have a higher growing GDP. How does that even work, right? This is because the GDP is not a direct correlation to how well the stock market does. In 2008, for example, the S&P 500, the stock market, lost 40%. But that same year, the US GDP was down only 4.3%. And then next year in 2009, the US GDP was down 2.5%. It's crazy. You would think that the GDP was a lot more connected to the stock market, but it's not. Now on the flip side of this, the US GDP averaged less than 2% per year from 2008 up until this point, but the US stock market has averaged 9.15%, including dividends. Another example, in 2020, the US GDP was down 3.4%, but the stock market went up 18.4%. This happens because the stock market is so much more complicated than the GDP or the country's economic output. It also has to do with things like geopolitics, government support, social sentiment, interest rates, foreign exchange rates, central bank powers. It is so much more complicated than any one factor, and it's also why, even though China has had insanely amazing growth over the last few decades, the US stock market still did better. Now, because I don't know enough about world economics, I'm not going to invest my money into the success of another country because I don't know how that will translate to my own investment success over the long term, so I'm going to stick to what I know. And what I know is that the US stock market, which refers to this stock right here, VOO, has averaged between 7 to 9% per year, which is an incredible return, and I'm happy with that because it means I get to double my money roughly every 10 years. And I also noticed that every time I try to time the market or go outside of what I understand is usually when I end up losing money. Now, I can't give you financial advice because I'm not an expert, but I can tell you to smash the like button and subscribe for more fun videos like this one. As always, have a wonderful rest of your day. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to grab your free stocks. Links are all down below. And let me know how you're investing knowing this information. Are you going to do it different? Are you staying the course? Share with us.
Oh, God, I felt that was a waste of
Get
time.
rich in India, man. No, if I'm on a money thing, that's useful.
It was, but then he just reverted back to talking about US.
historical.
No. The information that he gave was good, but then he just tried to sell me the American stock market. And like, it was like, yeah, that's all good, but really, I've just told you all that. But it doesn't mean you're going to make any money. But you will make money on the American stock market, so invest in Vanguard. I bet he gets sponsorship from Vanguard.
No doubt.
But
So
Vanguard
it's
is actually
selling.
good, to be fair.
Well, their stock must be going up, let's put it that way. They got amount of people they got promoting them.
Yeah.
Influencers.
No, Vanguard's good, man. Like, my sister and I use it, and I put a little bit of money in Vanguard for Grace as well. So a good little thing. Anyway, definitely a market, emerging market, ain't it? Like to put your money into, though.
India's a superpower now. Don't know when they made this, but India bought steel industry, car industry. India's been buying everything up for the last everything. There's nothing new going on with that. Selling warships and planes to Australia and people now. Their weapons.
I think if you were smart in your finances, though, you know the two things to invest in now is obviously AI. AI and solar energy, innit? Well, not solar, but alternative energy, I should say. They're the two things that are going to be huge. If you can get into any AI early companies, you can make loads of money.
I don't know if you're going to make loads of money. It's making smart money in it. See, did you see that Ian Wright thing?
Nah, what?
Ian Wright's supposed to have come out and told you how to make money all the time. Just log on, same thing like registering for ChatGTP. There's another site, but it just does all your financial stuff for you.
Yeah, nice, isn't it?
And the bank's supposed to be chasing him for Kumar, something like that it's called. I'm sure I'll send you the link.
Yeah, man, send me the link.
And I was saying, sign me up for this blood strike, because you got to put £250 in, and he did it on who's that talk show host? One of them talk shows he was on, and he said, give me your phone. At the end of the show, the man made £90. By 20 minutes later, he's already made £90. He says that goes on all the time, every day. You don't have to do nothing except register that. AI is doing it for you.
Do you know what's like that though? Thingy Bob does like that stuff. My brother, well, Nathan, he does nothing. He's always sending me them mad apps and that, like to make money. Just while you're not doing nothing, you just get an app and you do something and it starts making you money. It might only be not a lot of money, but considering you're doing nothing,
if you're doing it enough and you're on it.
Yeah, if people just sit there all day doing that, like 20 apps, you can make like £30-40 a day. Which don't sound like a lot, but it is a lot.
It
if you
is,
think
man.
if that's
You
all
go
you're
to
doing.
work for 80 quid a day, £100 a day, if you're lucky. And you can make it sitting there on your phone.
Yeah, Matty. But yeah, definitely big investment opportunities. I'm looking into that, to be fair. But my thing was obviously like, it's all them emerging markets, ain't it? Because, as I was saying, Africa's going to be an emerging market. I wonder where that sits on growing as a superpower.
Africa's got no electric. So
So
when
that's
you
the
see the damn thing like in Ethiopia and Egypt threatening them, Nile and all that stuff, that's the biggest dam in Africa at the moment. Now, when you see them build dams in Congo and on the other great rivers, Africa's getting ready now. China, albeit they're building roads and things, like I say, why didn't they build dams and proper infrastructure things? Everybody else ain't really going to support Africa becoming strong when they're plundering it.
Yeah,
That is where everybody makes money. With no Africa, France don't exist. A lot of them countries don't exist without being able to steal directly from Africa. France apologized for it while they're still taking their money in the CF franc. It's all wordplay. Until Africa has an army, it can't deal with nothing. Now there's more foreign armies setting up bases in Africa. you know,
The African armies.
then there is no African army. They got little countries with a few soldiers where they send abroad.
Yeah.
The rest is chaos and mayhem. They pay Rwandans to
Do you
go into
reckon
Congo.
there will ever be a day where Africa becomes one? Do you know what? Let's not go into this. We'll talk about this discussion on another thing. Listen, this is how India will take over the world economy in the next 10 years.
I reckon they've taken it over already. So
Do you think they're number one? They're not number one, obviously. America's still number one.
well, we don't know. America's got, like I said, an advantage. It prints its own money and prints everybody, controls everybody else, but it doesn't have any gold, which is why they went and got Gaddafi's gold and everywhere else that they've been plundered.
It has the world's biggest untapped oil reserve, though.
Untapped.
Untapped.
Where is that?
So reserve oil.
Where?
So I don't know where it is.
Oh, you mean it's running everybody else's oil out?
So basically,
first?
goes to steal. Yeah.
Or you're talking
steal
about
everyone
South
else's oil.
America? Because South America's got oil.
But
America.
America's got untapped oil reserves.
North
because
America.
because it goes everywhere else and just takes everyone else's oil. And that's essentially what it does. So that's a lot. That's a lot to back your bank with. Again, let's see what happens in the next 10 years then. But people, if you got any money,
India is a superpower.
India's obviously a place that you should look into the stock market, I guess. All right, we out.
Peace.
Peace.